Elias discovered an impossible breach. A ragged, homeless teenage girl named Seraphina, who had somehow talked her way past security, was performing a wild, desperate dance on his priceless rug. Elias was ready to call the police, to destroy the evidence of this trespass. But then he saw his son. For the first time in 2 years, Leo's vacant eyes were alive, tracking the dancer with rapt, magnetic attention. The raw, untrained passion of the street girl had achieved what money couldn't. It sparked a single, involuntary flicker of movement in his son's hand. Elias Thorne was a man who lived a life measured in quarterly profits and market cap. At 45, he was the stoic, iron-willed CEO of Thorne Global, a conglomerate whose reach extended from sustainable energy to deep-sea mining. His penthouse, occupying the top 2 floors of the monolithic Onyx Tower, was a monument to his success. Seamless walls of Venetian plaster, floors of polished black granite, and a climate-controlled wine cellar containing vintages that cost more than most people's annual salaries. Yet, none of this opulence could soothe the persistent, hollow ache that had settled deep within his chest 2 years ago. The source of that ache was his son, 12-year-old Leo. Leo was not just Elias's son, he was the future of Thorne Global, the reason Elias pushed himself to the brink of exhaustion every day. He was also, tragically, a prisoner in his own body. A catastrophic cycling accident had severed his spinal cord, leaving him with T4 paralysis. His once bright, boisterous spirit had been replaced by a quiet, almost spectral resignation. He spent his days in a custom-engineered, motorized wheelchair, positioned by the sprawling, floor-to-ceiling windows of the main living area, his gaze fixed on the minuscule figures moving in Central Park 19 stories below. He rarely spoke, and when he did, his voice was a soft, emotionless monotone. The procession of world-class specialists, physiotherapists, psychoanalysts, robotics experts, had all failed to reignite the spark in the boy. On this frigid late autumn afternoon, Elias was in his home office, reviewing a multi-billion-dollar merger proposal. The silence in the penthouse was usually absolute, a testament to the soundproofing and the efficiency of the domestic staff, who moved with ninja-like discretion. But today, the silence was broken. A sound, faint yet distinctly discordant, drifted from the living room, the light, rhythmic thump of feet and a melodic, almost ethereal strain of music, a flute, perhaps, or a simple, reedy recorder. Frowning, Elias pushed back his leather chair, its movement a soft, hydraulic sigh. He paid his staff exorbitant salaries for professionalism. Unauthorized music, particularly music that sounded as if it belonged to a traveling minstrel show, was unacceptable. He strode down the long, obsidian-tiled hallway, his expensive loafers clicking sharply against the stone. As he entered the vast, sun-drenched living room, he stopped dead. The scene before him defied every logical expectation of his highly controlled environment. Leo was exactly where he always was, positioned by the window, his head resting slightly against the back of his chair, seemingly engrossed in the world outside. But the view was irrelevant. What commanded attention was the interloper. Standing on the plush, snow-white carpet, in the precise patch of sunlight that always drew Leo's gaze, was a girl. She was perhaps 17, impossibly thin, wearing clothes that spoke of desperation, a threadbare gray sweater, dark leggings ripped in several places, and simple, almost ballet-like slippers that were clearly designed for function, not fashion. Her hair was a wild cascade of dark, untamed curls that spilled over one shoulder. She held no instrument. The music, the same reedy, haunting melody, was coming from a small, battered phone resting on the polished side table, its speaker turned up full volume. And she was dancing. Not the stiff, technically perfect movements of the dancers Elias sometimes saw at corporate galas. This was a dance of pure, unadulterated passion and sorrow. Her body moved with a liquid grace that suggested years of rigorous training, yet her performance was utterly free, unbound by choreography. She spun and leaped, her long limbs creating impossible geometric shapes in the air, her face a mask of intense, focused emotion. It wasn't just movement, it was a story. A tale of falling, struggling, and rising again, told only through the contortion and extension of her body. Elias's initial, primal surge of protective anger. Who is this girl? How did she breach security, was instantly eclipsed by something far more unsettling. He looked at his son. Leo. Leo was not looking out the window. His chin was lifted, his usually blank, vacant eyes were tracking the dancer's every move. There was a faint, almost imperceptible tension in his jaw, and most shockingly, his right hand, the one that normally lay listless on the armrest, was slightly curled, his fingers twitching faintly as if trying to grasp something just out of reach. He wasn't smiling, but the emptiness in his face had been replaced by a flicker of pure, fascinated attention. The girl finished her impromptu routine with a breathtaking flourish, a slow, controlled drop to one knee, her back perfectly arched, her eyes closed, one hand reaching towards the sunbeam. The cheap phone music faded to silence. She remained there, utterly still, breathing heavily. Elias, frozen in the archway, cleared his throat, a sharp, sudden noise that shattered the moment. The girl's head snapped up. Her eyes, startlingly green and wide-set, instantly locked onto his. In that moment, her graceful dancer's poise dissolved into the raw panic of a cornered animal. She scrambled backwards, her foot catching on the edge of the expensive Persian rug. "Wait. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be here," she stammered, pulling her threadbare sweater tighter around her chest. Elias finally found his voice, a low, dangerous rumble that often intimidated seasoned board members. "Who are you? And how, in God's name, did you get 19 stories up into a high-security residential suite?" The girl visibly flinched, then looked towards Leo, who, at the sound of his father's voice, had instantly reverted to his usual, withdrawn state, his eyes once again fixed on the park below. A strange mix of defiance and desperate sadness settled on the girl's face. "My name is Seraphina," she whispered, rising slowly. "And I got in, because he asked me to." She gestured vaguely towards Leo, who gave no sign of acknowledging either of them. "I was dancing in the park. Below your window, near the fountain. I saw him looking down. He always looked so sad. So I sent him a note. Attached to a balloon. He wrote back. With the security code for the delivery entrance." Elias stared at the girl, then at his son, whose silence had always been a fortress. The security code? Leo hadn't spoken more than 100 words in the last 6 months. The discovery of this bizarre, clandestine communication, a homeless girl from the park and the heir to Thorne Global, was a profound violation of his meticulously ordered world, and yet, the memory of that flicker of life in Leo's eyes was more potent than his anger. "A balloon?" Elias repeated, his voice laced with disbelief. "You risk trespassing, arrest, a potential police record, all for a performance?" Seraphina swallowed hard, her gaze now steady. "I risk it because I needed to see him smile. Even just a little. And because, well, because I'm good at it. And sometimes, good things should be seen, even if you have to climb a glass tower to share them."
It was an audacious, almost poetic reply. Elias stood there, a corporate titan momentarily disarmed by a philosophy of pure, desperate artistry. The girl's shivering form and the simple, intense beauty of her movement stood in stark contrast to the cold, sterile luxury of the room. He realized she wasn't looking for a handout, or even a chance to steal, she was looking for an audience, and in Leo, she had found the only audience that truly mattered. "Leave the premises immediately, Seraphina," Elias commanded, walking towards the door, ready to summon security. He didn't want to call the police on a teenager, despite her breach. "I will not press charges if you simply walk out the way you came." Seraphina moved past him, but paused directly beside Leo's wheelchair. She gently placed her hand on the cold metal frame, leaned down, and spoke softly, her voice pitched only for him. "Thank you, Leo. Your window is the best stage I've ever had." As she straightened, Elias saw something that made his heart seize in his chest. As Seraphina turned to leave, Leo, the boy who hadn't physically acknowledged a single person outside of routine physical therapy in 2 years, raised his curled right hand and lightly, hesitantly, touched the back of her worn gray sweater. It was a gesture of farewell, a plea for her to stay, or perhaps, simply a connection. The contact lasted less than a second before his hand dropped back to the armrest, but the sight was an electric shock to Elias. He knew, instantly and absolutely, that Seraphina could not be allowed to simply walk away.